honest, it's often boring and it's in the weeds, but it actually could have real impact for us here in North Carolina. So first of all, what is redistricting? Because I think this is why it tends to get boring, because it goes over our heads a bit.
Sure. All redistricting is basically the drawing of congressional or state legislative lines that will then elect representatives from the voters. And so North Carolina has had a very long history of redistricting controversies going back to the 1980s. And since the 1990s, we have never gone 10 years or a decade in between census where we have had a complete set of all three maps upheld: congressional, state house, and state senate. So certainly if North Carolinians are confused about which congressional district or which state house, which state senate district they are currently living in or could be changed to, this is kind of the history of North Carolina politics.
So how does this impact us? Because it seems like on face value, does it really matter? But it does.
It certainly does, because what North Carolina voters have done are basically sort themselves. In some research that I've done, I've looked at all of the precincts across the state, over 2,600 of them, and nearly 70% of them vote for one party over the other at 60% or greater. And so what North Carolina has basically done is sorted itself. When the map makers, the legislators, start to redraw congressional or state legislative districts, they can basically create districts that will be overwhelmingly for one party over the other based on how voters have been voting.
So they're designing it to favor a certain party over the other. So this summer, we are expecting a decision from the Supreme Court in the case of Moore versus Harper. It's the ultimate question of who has power over those congressional district lines. Is it state lawmakers or the courts? So how do you see that all playing out?
Well, that's a good question. I wouldn't want to try and speculate what the justices will do just based on the oral arguments back in last December. But it seems like there was a group of justices led by the Chief Justice of the United States, John Roberts, that was trying to find some kind of middle ground. If they went too far to the state independent legislature theory, that would mean that legislatures have complete and unfettered control over things. And that could pose some real issues with the balance of power and the separation of powers within state governments. I don't think that they're going to go with the liberal side and basically discount the theory, even though it is a very novel and ahistorical theory in constitutional law. They're going to try and find some kind of middle ground. What that means for North Carolina and the rest of the country, we'll just have to wait and see what the opinion ultimately is.
Let's talk State House and North Carolina state Republicans. They're just a seat away from holding a supermajority there. Do you think there's any hope that they can overturn anything vetoed by Democratic Governor Roy Cooper?
I think that this is going to be the great question for 2023 and 2024. What is the supermajority governing coalition? And certainly some Democrats are going to be viewed more positively in trying to override a gubernatorial veto. We have seen the parties kind of sort themselves as the voters have, and certainly the governor has been involved in kind of retribution against those Democrats that voted to override his veto. But I think that the House, particularly Republican leaders in the House, will look at things like budgets and be able to direct some funding to Democratic districts that may be persuasive in helping them to override on some issues. We're going to have a whole host of controversial issues taken up by the General Assembly. This will be something that we will have to basically go policy by policy to see where this workable governing supermajority coalition really exists.
It'll make for some good content here for Flashpoint. Let's talk about Medicaid expansion, because issues like that, they have been long the source of disagreement among Republicans and Democrats. Expected to be addressed early on in the session, according to Moore. But currently, North Carolina is one of only 12 states that doesn't provide Medicaid expansion. There are thousands of North Carolinians who need more health care. I mean, that we know that. So how difficult is it going to be for state lawmakers to get something done?
Well, I think, again, the focus is going to be on the state house and what the Speaker, Tim Moore, and his conference will be able to put together. Certainly, there may be an opportunity for a bipartisan dynamic. The governor has wanted this. Democrats have wanted this. This will be the key test within the Republican conference as to how many sign on to this, and can there be a majority within the Republican conference to push through Medicaid expansion. I think now is probably going to be the year. We've had some fits and starts with this. The state Senate is wholly on board with it. So really the focus is going to be within the state house to see if this policy does get implemented.
I want to touch on the fight for U.S. House Speaker, because it has been a fight. That's fight with an underline, right? Because it has been. There's been a battle. And Congressman Dan Bishop from North Carolina and Ralph Norman from South Carolina, they are pushing for a more conservative leader, saying that Kevin McCarthy not conservative enough. What are the long-term effects, if any, of doing this?
Well, I think the easiest vote taken in any U.S. House of Representatives session should be the Speaker of the House. And we have seen this play out for several days. I think the Carolina connection of both Bishop and Ralph Norman really shows that within the Republican conference, there is a fractured governing coalition. And yes, you may have a majority, but do you have a governing majority? And I would also throw in people like Richard Hudson, who's going to be running the campaigns for 2024. He doesn't want to see this really detract from the Republicans' governing majority. Someone like Patrick McHenry has been mentioned several times as perhaps a consolidation speaker candidate. We have a lot of Carolina connections to this upheaval in the U.S. House of Representatives, and it will be a real test of how much power these conservatives have over the next 2 years, or whether they are placated and will play along with whoever becomes the speaker.
It's a new year, so do you have any political predictions for us for this year?
Well, I think my crystal ball cracked way back in 2016, and I haven't been able to find anybody to fix it. But I think the dynamic of the House of Representatives, both the national and the state house here in North Carolina, will be a lot of focus on what we will see come out. I think issues like abortion will continue to be in the forefront. That will be something that the states, particularly North Carolina, will potentially struggle over. And then when it comes to both the state legislature and the new Republican-controlled state Supreme Court, how do they work together to really further advance a conservative agenda for North Carolina? I think those are some of the big issues that I'll be watching this year.
And we'll be watching them right alongside you. Catawba College professor Michael Bitzer, thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
More Flashpoint coming up after this.
Time now 5:16. It is time to connect the dots. When we make the news make sense. The Golden Globes set to return to TV after taking a year off. The break caused by backlash over the lack of diversity in the nominations and by the voters. Now the show is back with a promise to do it right.
What's changed with the Golden Globes? Let's connect the dots. Tonight's ceremony marks 80 years of the Golden Globes. The awards run by the Hollywood Foreign Press Association to help spread movies and TVs internationally. In 2021, a LA Times article highlighted potential conflicts of interest and said the voting committee had no black members since 2002. The group assured that 35% of members were non-European and people of color, but none were black. This prompted a boycott of the awards show and the eventual cancellation of the broadcast in 2022. Now, the association says they've added new voters to the ranks. There's also a ban on accepting gifts and new rules for existing members. NBC agreed to air the show this year after those changes, but they only picked up the award show for this year. So the future of it is still unclear. And that is Connecting the Dots.
And you can watch the 80th Golden Globes tonight, 8 p.m. right here on WCNC Charlotte.
You know, even though we did see some rain this week, it looks like we could stand to see some more. Meteorologist Brittany Van Voorhees is standing by to talk about this latest drought monitor. So do we even know exactly how the latest rainfall has impacted things?
Yeah, so Vanessa, these come out Thursday mornings, but they actually stopped collecting data on Tuesday morning. So this won't factor in the rain that we had just yesterday. And if you're watching last night, you know Brad mentioning that it was, of course, the wettest day, right, on record for that day. Now, the U.S. Drought Monitor is something that comes out weekly, right? It's assessment of current drought conditions. So we got the latest update today. You can see drier than normal conditions for parts of both South and North Carolina. There's also a little speck there of moderate drought conditions across. This includes Richmond County, Chesterfield County, as well as parts of Anson County. Now, while drought is often referred to in conjunction with rain, it is so much more than that. The agencies that put together the drought monitor, they use precipitation, yes, but many other factors like stream flow, groundwater levels, reservoir levels, soil moisture, and even snowpack. Droughts build over time, but it also takes time to get back to normal. So let's take a look at 2022. We were actually pretty close to normal rainfall-wise. We ended slightly higher with about 44.36 inches. But remember, in 2021, we were almost 8 inches drier than average at the end of the year. Now, it's important to remember that drought is a normal part of the climate cycle. However, it's a slow-moving hazard which often causes people to underestimate the damage it can do. Losses from drought are just as substantial as those from hurricanes, tornadoes, and even other weather disasters. Drought can cause loss of agriculture. It can affect the water supply, energy production, public health, wildlife, and even contribute to wildfires across the country. And I mean, we've seen that, right, Vanessa, in other parts of the country like California over the past few years.
Indeed. And you're right in the fact that it's slow moving, right? Like you don't realize until bang, we're already in a big drought and you go, oh, wow, there it is. Thank you for breaking all that down. That's interesting.
If you have an iPhone and its battery isn't what it used to be, you're probably going to want to replace it. And do it now. I'm Carolyn Brooke, and this is your Where's the Money Minute. Apple is raising the price to replace batteries for just about every iPhone, iPad, and Mac starting March 1st. Tech site 9to5Mac reports replacements for all iPhones other than the 14 will go up by $20 to $69. That's a 40% increase. It'll be a 23% price hike to get a new battery in your MacBook Air model. That replacement will go up by $30 to $159. Now, if you need a new battery for your MacBook Pro, expect to pay $50 more. Come March 1st, the cost is up from $199 to $249, which is a 25% increase, while the price to replace the battery on most iPads will increase 20% from $99 to $119. And if you're thinking your battery is just fine on your iPhone, so you won't have to worry about replacing it, you might want to think again, because Apple support states, quote, over time, the rechargeable batteries in all iPhone models will diminish in their capacity and peak performance and will eventually need to be replaced. So if you need to do just that and replace something, there are a few options to replace that battery. You can get it done at Apple stores, online using a mail-in service, or at an authorized Apple reseller. But again, get it taken care of before March 1st to avoid paying even more. With your Where's the Money Minute, I'm Carolyn Brooke.
All right.
Okay.
So there you have it.
Yeah.
Let's turn now to some business news here. Despite the federal interest rate hike we told you about this week, businesses continue to grow, and they are choosing Charlotte for their developments.
And others with a history of being based in the Queen City are in a redevelopment phase. WCNC Charlotte's Jane Monreal talked with an executive at Duke Energy about their plans.
This is the lobby of Duke Energy on Church Street, a former headquarters for the energy company, and is getting ready to become a mixed-use space in the next couple of years. Duke Energy in a period of transition after selling 2 of its properties in Uptown.
We are consolidating our space in order to free up money for capital investment in clean energy technology. So we estimate we will save about $85 to $90 million in doing this project work and selling our existing facilities and moving into one building.
Donna Council is Duke's Senior Vice President of Administrative Services. She says the property on South College Street was bought by Millennium Venture Capital to convert into a residential and retail space.
And then MRP partners are going to be developing this building that we're sitting in now. And again, we love the idea that they were going to sustainably reuse this property to develop it into some luxury condos and retail space.
In the latest growth report from Charlotte Regional Business Alliance, it says just over $100 million was announced in capital investment. Despite recession fears, many of the region's key industries begin Q4 at a high point.
Well, Charlotte has been, even throughout COVID, a huge attraction for people to move here.
She says it also makes sense with a hybrid workflow for employees. The Duke Plaza will be able to accommodate all of the company's workers.
And we will be moving our pilot group in the last week of January. So we'll move in tranches, and we'll be fully in by the last quarter of the year. And we'll have some great retail space that we are looking at tenants for now to bring excitement to.
By selling off its assets, it is expected to save millions of dollars, those savings passed on to the customer. In Charlotte, Jane Monreal, WCNC Charlotte.
And taking a look at the weather forecast in our area right now, live pictures from Freedom Boat Club in Lake Norman. Let's send it over to meteorologist Chris Mulcahy, who joins us now with more on your forecast. Hey there, Chris.
Beautiful blue skies. Sarah, get ready for a terrific Tuesday. Hopefully you have some good plans. We are rocking the 50s today, pretty close to 60 degrees, and our tower cam about 1,500 feet up, looking clear. We only have a couple of clouds here and there. High of 58 degrees. That's 1 degree warmer than what we had yesterday. And no chance for rain. Don't worry about it. Winds out of the southwest at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Not really looking at as many wind gusts as what we saw yesterday as well. So this is really a picture-perfect forecast. Mid to the upper 50s, right around 50 degrees up in the mountains. So your overnight forecast. We are looking at temperatures to take a tumble back down to the lower to the mid-30s. Pretty close to that freezing point, but not quite around that 30-31 that we were rocking most of earlier this morning. And we hit 31 this morning, mid-30s later on tonight, heading into tomorrow morning. And it's not until Sunday that we really hit our bottom for the week, 26 degrees on Sunday. So like in the mid-30s, that's a good range to be. And even up in the mountains, we're going to be pretty close to that freezing point overall. Tomorrow's hour-by-hour forecast, we're looking at around 60 degrees. So the lower 60s is mainly going to be our threshold, and that's fantastic. But I think that we are going to increase the cloud cover, turning mostly cloudy, even overcast by the end of the day. So a look at our futurecast. Not as many clouds today, but then watch. Once we get to the afternoon, noon I think is fine. Mid to late afternoon, we're going to have that partly sunny, mostly cloudy sky. Still some bright spots here and there. And then, as you notice, once you get to about your Thursday early morning hours, we're going to have a few spotty rain showers. They're going to start to brush in. So Thursday is going to be the main chance for rain. It's not necessarily a Thursday morning. It's Thursday afternoon during the evening. And then we have isolated activity heading into your Friday. And it's the warm front that first gives us that little spurt of a few isolated showers. It's the cold front that's going to bring the main batch of rain. So we have a mean line of storms. It's going to be situated just off towards our west. That is going to push through our area, I would say, by your Thursday late afternoon heading into your evening. But the further west you go, we are looking at potential for severe storms. But watch our thunderstorm fuel. It pretty much dissipates and gets out of here by about the evening. So I think that we don't really have the right timing for the strongest storms. And the Storm Prediction Center also adjusting that we only have that low chance further off towards the west. As far as how much rain we're going to see, this is measuring up to about half to about an inch of rain, and this is going to be a pretty quick period as well. So our Guy Roofing 7-day forecast has the mid-60s with those winds out of the southwest on Thursday. That cold front's going to cool us down, back down to the lower 50s on Friday. The coolest day of the week, though, will be Saturday.
At WCNC Charlotte, we really want to make a difference. We have tools like Verify and Where's the Money to really listen to viewers and see what they're struggling with, whether that's trying to get money that you deserve or answering a question that's confusing you. We're not the experts, we're interviewing the experts. And that's why we want to bring it to you so you can see the facts, how we check them, and how we get the answer. Just us today.
I know. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Just the two of us, Ben and Sarah here, to chat about school calendars.
Yeah, so we want to know, of course, this is affecting Union County. CMS said something like this might happen down the line, but it was not in the two proposal calendars that they gave parents to vote on in Union County, and now all of a sudden they've basically moved school up 3 weeks to start.
Union County is the biggest county that's dealt with this, but there's been a number of other counties across North Carolina and our viewing area that have chosen to sort of move up their calendar, going against technically what the state says they can do.
So let us know what you think about this, but this is the first district that's facing a lawsuit now from parents. So we want to know what you think. We have the story to explain a little bit more, and we'll talk more about it on the other side of it.
This morning, parents asking a judge to stop the earlier start to the Union County school calendar. Parents say students and business owners will feel the effects of an early start.
She does many summer camps, and the shortening of the summer and the lack of notice of the change in the calendar is causing her business a severe financial hardship, because basically normally she would have classes the first 3 weeks of August.
The school calendar law was heavily lobbied by the travel and tourism industry. A later start to the school year allows more tourism throughout the month of August. But now state leaders disagree with how the courts could rule.
I understood that some litigation was being contemplated. I think it's a fairly clear case that those efforts on the part of some local school systems should be enjoined by the courts. We'll see what judges do.
But North Carolina House Speaker Tim Moore wants districts to have more of a say.
I favor more flexibility for the local districts and for the parents to have input in that. So not sure what will happen with the lawsuit, but I think there ought to be greater flexibility.
Some parents hoping the courts decide districts shouldn't choose which state laws it wants to follow.
So we did reach out to Union County Public School, each of its board members, about the lawsuit. The district spokesperson said there are no additional comments right now at this time.
And we are hearing from some of you this morning, starting there on the left-hand side of your screen, starting after Labor Day and end May 30th. Too many non-school days during the current calendar. Someone else says, I think school should start after Labor Day as well. It doesn't make sense. School starts and then they go right back into a break. And then starting 3 weeks early is a start. I lived overseas. We went to school all year. We would get 2 weeks off for a break. There's a variety of different topics all within those three remarks. But the idea is, and you heard from, interestingly enough, two Republican lawmakers in that, Phil Berger, who heads up the Senate in Raleigh, and Tim Moore, who heads up the House, both Republicans who are taking a slightly different stand on the issue about whether or not local districts should have more control.
Originally, you know, the school district said they were doing this especially to help high school students with testing. And so they wanted testing to happen before the Christmas break. Right now they're studying, doing their classes, and then having to come back and do the testing after Christmas break. So I have spoken to a lot of parents with older kids that say, yes, this is great. They can get their testing out of the way before the holiday break. But I think it just threw a lot of parents off, because Union County did send those two calendars out for parents to vote on, and this was not an option. And then all of a sudden they said, hey, you know, school's still going to get out June 9th, but we're going to now this summer start the first week of August. And so many parents had stuff planned in August. Yeah. I have a friend whose husband's a Charlotte firefighter. They have to, you know, plan his days out a year in advance. Totally. They have their family vacation planned for August, so they're kind of like, oh my goodness. But the crazy thing with this now is that I know so many people that have readjusted their schedules, readjusted their calendars. A lot of summer camps release at the beginning of January, and parents, you guys know, those fill up like that. If you haven't signed up, you don't get a spot. So now, if for some reason with this lawsuit, if they
goes back,
I know. That leaves parents with like a whole month now where you're like, you were too late on the summer camps, you switched around things.
You got to have some consistency. Joy chiming in and saying that this is a bad idea. It also, I think, probably doesn't settle well with some parents and some students out there as well when you hear that part of the rationale is because of the tourism industry. While we love and support the tourism industry and want it to flourish here in North Carolina, you do want school decisions to be made because of
what's best for the kids.
Yeah. I mean, that's sort of like a glaring issue, while also supporting the tourism industry, and we love them and want them to thrive. You do sort of hope the best interest of the students is what's motivating the decision.
And I should say that when it adjusts this year, when they start in August, they will be then getting out at the end of May. So they will have June and July for next summer. But this summer, they're just losing that a month that they thought they were going to have. So it'll be interesting to see how this unfolds, because last year, was it Lancaster County, or I'm trying to think who started school before that?
I think Gaston County.
Gaston County. But this is the first school district that has faced a lawsuit from parents for changing the date.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
Melissa says, as usual, it's a mess for us in Union County.
Yeah.
Expressing the frustration a lot of parents have. Thus the lawsuit we mentioned.
Well, parents like to plan ahead.
Understandably so. That's not a ridiculous request. We pay our lawmakers handsomely, both at the local and state level, to figure it out. Right. All right, folks, continue to chime in. Let us know what you think about all of this, and we'll see you back here tomorrow morning for another edition of Wake Up Charlotte to Go.
Well, this is pretty neat. Moving from one mom to another, a Charlotte woman started a business in her kitchen. The endeavor took off. It's thanks to other moms on social media. And so now 7 years later, that same social media group is playing an even bigger role in the company's future.
WCNC Charlotte's Michelle Bowden explains in tonight's Where's the Money?
This is a story about women helping women, starting, growing, and ultimately selling a successful business.
It just grew so quickly. Stephanie Rickenbacher was just trying to take care of her family when she started Sweets Elderberry back in 2016.
My husband was diagnosed with leukemia, and very treatable, fortunately, but it prompted a lot of healthy lifestyle changes for me and our family. And I learned about elderberry syrup as a way to help keep us healthy.
Elderberry is said to boost your immune system, so the mom of two started making it in her kitchen and then posted about it in a local mom's Facebook group.
So I did a post in this group thinking just a handful of moms would be interested in buying it, and it was like 150 people interested. I quickly had to figure out how to make it that much, and it kind of turned into a business from there.
Armed with an MBA and a sales and marketing background, she moved into a commercial kitchen.
I thought that it was just going to be a fun little side gig.
That side gig landed her product in 270 stores. She sold more than 200,000 bottles and made more than $3 million in revenue over the years.
Isn't that wild? It's just wild.
So this year, when she decided she wanted to sell the business, looking for a slower pace, she went right back to the beginning, posting about it in the same mom's Facebook group.
I saw it on the mom group, the same place that I started buying many years ago. And I looked over at my husband and I'm like, you're gonna think I'm insane, but Sweets Elderberry is for sale and I think we should buy it. All organic ingredients.
She'd just given birth to her second daughter, but after staying at home full time for 4 years with her first, wanted something she could be passionate about professionally as well.
I think that it's great to show that we can, still have a job and some flexibility, but also be an incredible mom.
Rickenbacher is thrilled to be passing the torch to another mom.
Just a huge relief and blessing, and I'm so excited for the future of it.
The new owner promises nothing will change. The ingredients will stay the same team is staying on board, but she is hoping to grow the business. Reporting in Charlotte, Michelle Bowden, WCNC Charlotte.
223,000 jobs were added across the country last month, and the unemployment rate went down to about 3.5%. But according to an economist at UNC Chapel Hill, rising interest rates are expected to continue this year, which could mean a recession. However, WCNC Charlotte's Jane Monreal spoke to a local expert who remains optimistic about Charlotte's economic outlook.
According to payroll company Gusto, Charlotte topped the list for job growth in 2022 with over 16%.
There could be quite a substantial number of job growth in 2023.
Danny Chavez with Charlotte Regional Business Alliance is not surprised.
That quality of life that we can give here with the trails, mountains, beach, everything that comes along with being in the Carolinas, this I always like to call temperate weather climate, that it means a lot.
He says another aspect that companies like the ACC, which recently announced it's moving its headquarters to the Queen City, consider is infrastructure.
Fifth busiest airport in the world is 15 minutes away from uptown Charlotte. I mean, that is an incredible feat. Anywhere else you go, you're driving 30 miles away just to be able to get to an airport of that scale.
According to Atrium Health, over 11,000 jobs will be created in the Charlotte Metro over the next 15 years because of the Pearl Innovation District in Midtown, which is expected to bring more science and technology industries to the area, playing a major part in Charlotte's economic future.
These are investments we need to make. This move specifically in that industry away from, I need to have one big corporate office or campus and everybody comes to it, has changed to, I need to have innovation centers where I can attract the best talent across the United States where people want to live.
Chavez says they're watching a couple of projects in the Business Alliance's portfolio representing a couple $2 billion in capital investment.
We have not only next generation space, we perform extremely well in the age group of 22 to 27. This age group we are attracting at an unprecedented level.
A talent pool attracted to industries of the future, Chavez says, should add up to unprecedented growth over the next 10 years. In Charlotte, Jane Monreal, WCNC Charlotte.
With your help, WCNC Charlotte is making a difference in our community.
We want people to know it's okay to ask for help.
We are the guardrails to some of these families who are struggling.
We get to present a check for $5,000 via the Techna Foundation.
These people give up their heart and their time, and they don't get anything but thank yous in return.
If you'd like to make a difference, go to WCNC.com/make-a-difference now.
But first we start with this. I can't afford to live here. These are the words, something we often hear in Charlotte. Rent and home prices skyrocketed over the last few years, and available housing can't keep up with the number of people moving here. City leaders strategizing on how to tackle these growing pains at the Housing and Jobs Summit. Tonight, they heard from developers, employers, and researchers on the state of housing and jobs in our area. Our Julia Kaufman has more.
We know Charlotte is lacking in affordable housing, but new data shared by researchers at the summit shows just how bad the problem has gotten in the past 2 years.
The number of housing units built every year is significantly less than the number of households that are moving into this area.
Dr. Yongchong Chu is head of UNCC's Real Estate Center. He says 2020 and 2021 set Charlotte back 10,000 housing units. The lack of new homes led to limited supply and high demand, meaning even higher prices.
January 2020 to September 2022, median house price in this region increased 54%.
He says during the pandemic, more than 60% of houses on the market were sold above listing price in an average of 3 days, adding that 80% of Charlotteans cannot afford the median home price here, pushing people out like Jessica Moreno.
I myself am displaced from Charlotte. I work in Charlotte. I fight for people in Charlotte, but I no longer live in Charlotte.
She'd like to see more anti-displacement programs and limits on corporate landlords to level the playing field for families like hers.
We see a huge number of corporate landlords just buying up communities and not giving people a chance to become owners.
To tackle the housing shortage, Dr. Chu says more houses simply need to be built. The summit is also taking a look at the labor shortage. Dr. Laura Ulrich with the Federal Reserve says Charlotte's employment numbers are high, but there's a labor shortage because people are changing where they work.
People have left difficult, stressful jobs that typically don't pay a whole lot for jobs where they can make the same money or more that are less stressful.
The shift has left gaps in fields like public education and customer service. Ulrich says employers will have to get creative to fill vacancies.
All this information is leading up to day 2 of the summit, where City Council will take everything they've heard and strategize on the policy and funding choices they'll make this year to impact Charlotte's housing and labor shortages. Julia Kaufman, WCNC Charlotte.
Right now, President Biden continuing his trip in Mexico City. Live pictures this morning from the Mexican capital and Washington. The president grappling with a number of issues, including the migrant crisis. Republicans scrutinizing Biden's handling of the border. Wake Up Charlotte's Bree Jackson has the latest now from D.C.
Sarah, President Biden is facing criticism following his first trip to the U.S.-Mexico border. Some opponents call it nothing more than a photo op. President Biden meeting with Mexico's President Andrés Manuel López Obrador for crucial talks on key issues impacting both countries, including tackling the migrant crisis and stopping the flow of illegal drugs coming across the southern border.
I wish we could just have one focus, only one focus. We have multiple foci, and so that's what we have to work on.
On his first day in office, President Biden sent Congress his administration's plan to provide a legal pathway to citizenship and strengthen border security. But it's gone nowhere amid Republican opposition.
Then we would ask them to take another look at that reform legislation and act on it.
House Republicans now hold the majority, with Kevin McCarthy taking over the Speaker's gavel, the party passing a package of rules Monday that will govern how they run the House over the next 2 years.
And that was the real goal of the rules changes, to open up the process and let members of Congress be able to represent their constituents better.
The GOP is also moving forward with its agenda, which includes launching investigations into the Biden administration and undoing Democrats' expansion of the IRS.
For the Republicans to hold out to the American people that they are saving something by doing this, all they're doing is crashing the economy.
The GOP bill will face roadblocks in the Democratic-controlled Senate. Today, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau will join President Biden and President Obrador for key talks on issues including climate change, trade, and border security. In Washington, I'm Bree Jackson for Wake Up Charlotte.
Verify, WCNC Charlotte.
Verify is all about trying to make a difference in the community by making sure that the community has the correct information. This is what we know. And hey, this is what we don't know. Sometimes you're actually surprised by the answer.
Verify the difference.
Verify is a great way to combat that misinformation, making sure that people know the process of the reporting. Right now, let's talk about a major safety concern for folks in East Charlotte. Some of these folks saying that they are tired of seeing drivers speeding through their neighborhood. Some say it's gotten so bad, residents have tried to take it upon themselves to get something done.
WCNC Charlotte's Jesse Pierre joins us live in East Charlotte. Jesse, I understand there was an accident there just a few days ago.
Exactly. Well, you know, this is what's left of a pole after a car crashed into it just last week. Now, the people who live in the area tell me that there are way too many drivers who are not following the rules of the road, and they are worried about their safety.
When I moved in this area, there was a area whereby people walk the street, the sidewalk, bicycle, and very few cars.
A lot has changed in the Eastbrook Woods neighborhood since Thomas Wyatt moved in back in the 70s. And the biggest is more traffic on Culver Creek and Barrington Drives.
I can't say as to how fast they're going, but they're going faster than 25 miles per hour.
Wyatt says cars zipping through the area is not the only problem.
I also see them not stopping for stop signs, running stop signs, and you can see from right here as to what else they're doing, knocking down trees, telegraph poles, you name it.
Charlene Lynch has lived in the area for 20 years and says she is concerned someone is going to get hurt if nothing is done to slow drivers down.
Scary for me because there are some children in this neighborhood, but also I have a small dog that I walk every day, twice a day. And we have to be really careful to cross that street at Barrington and Cove Creek.
Lynch is a member of the East Brook Neighborhood Association. She says they are pushing to get a speed bump added to the busy street.
And we have petitioned already. It's just a backlog. It's taking so long.
The neighbors say they've also reached out to the sheriff's department and have seen a patrol car here and there, and they say that has helped, but they feel like adding a speed bump on the road would make a bigger difference. Now, a road does have to meet a certain criteria for a traffic measure to be added. So we did reach out to CDOT, and a spokesperson tells us that they have received that petition or that request, and it will be addressed by a member of their team. Live in East Charlotte, Jesse Pierre, WCNC Charlotte.
Neighbors certainly have a reason to be concerned about their safety. Thank you for that report, Jesse.
A nonprofit helping other nonprofits has been making a big impact across our region. Aparo connecting corporations with organizations that need their help. And WCNC Charlotte's Michelle Bowden shows us how they are seeking solutions.
Aparo has been in Charlotte doing their work sort of behind the scenes and very quietly for 16 years. Now, though, they're really hoping to get the word out so they can do more.
In this church off Sugar Creek Road, they're training people for some pretty in-demand jobs.
Absolutely. They are going through the roof right now. We get calls all the time for staff. These are considered occupations in demand right now.
Omit Innovative Solutions. Omit stands for On-Site, Off-Site Mechanical, Industrial, Technical Training, is a nonprofit that takes people who were formerly incarcerated and trains them to be construction, electrical, HVAC, and plumbing workers. But as a nonprofit, they don't always have what they need.
We don't have the money, which is why Aparo is such a blessing for us. We didn't have a computer lab a few years ago.
Aparo is another Charlotte-based nonprofit. Their mission, literally to help build up other nonprofits.
We help other nonprofits in the greater Charlotte community with technology, guidance, advice, resources, education. We've got so many resources and connections in the community around technology and support. We were able to work with Duke Energy to fund buying laptops for Omit and also using their skilled volunteers, a few of their employees, to actually set up the computers.
They're about to celebrate 20 years of helping in Charlotte, working with 200 nonprofits a year.
It's allowed us to soar. It's allowed us to increase our capacity with the people that we serve.
Oh my God, it's amazing. All these touch points that we're having with nonprofits, we're transforming them.
In Charlotte, Michelle Bowden, WCNC Charlotte.
And taking a look at the weather forecast in our area right now, live pictures from Freedom Boat Club in Lake Norman. Let's send it over to meteorologist Chris Mulcahy, who joins us now with more on your forecast. Hey there, Chris.
Beautiful blue skies. Sarah, get ready for a terrific Tuesday. Hopefully you have some good plans. We are rocking the 50s today, pretty close to 60 degrees, and our tower cam about 1,500 feet up, looking clear. We only have a couple of clouds here and there. High of 58 degrees. That's 1 degree warmer than what we had yesterday. And no chance for rain. Don't worry about it. Winds out of the southwest at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Not really looking at as many wind gusts as what we saw yesterday as well. So this is really a picture-perfect forecast. Mid to the upper 50s, right around 50 degrees up in the mountains. So your overnight forecast. We are looking at temperatures to take a tumble back down to the lower to the mid-30s. Pretty close to that freezing point, but not quite around that 30-31 that we were rocking most of earlier this morning. And we hit 31 this morning, mid-30s later on tonight, heading into tomorrow morning. And it's not until Sunday that we really hit our bottom for the week, 26 degrees on Sunday. So like in the mid-30s, that's a good range to be. And even up in the mountains, we're going to be pretty close to that freezing point overall. Tomorrow's hour-by-hour forecast, we're looking at around 60 degrees. So the lower 60s is mainly going to be our threshold, and that's fantastic. But I think that we are going to increase the cloud cover, turning mostly cloudy, even overcast by the end of the day. So a look at our futurecast, not as many clouds today, but then watch. Once we get to the afternoon, noon I think is fine. Mid to late afternoon, we're going to have that partly sunny, mostly cloudy sky, still some bright spots here and there. And then as you notice, once you get to about your Thursday, early morning hours, we're going to have a few spotty rain showers. They're going to start to brush in. So Thursday is going to be the main chance for rain. It's not necessarily a Thursday morning. It's Thursday afternoon during the evening. And then we have isolated activity heading into your Friday. And it's the warm front that first gives us that little spurt of a few isolated showers. It's the cold front that's going to bring the main batch of rain. So we have a mean line of storms that's going to be situated just off towards our west. That is going to push through our area, I would say, by your Thursday late afternoon heading into your evening. But the further west you go, we are looking at potential for severe storms. But watch our thunderstorm fuel. It pretty much dissipates and gets out of here by about the evening. So I think that we don't really have the right timing for the strongest storms. And the Storm Prediction Center also adjusting that we only have that low chance further off towards the west. As far as how much rain we're going to see, this is measuring up to about half to about an inch of rain, and this is going to be a pretty quick period as well. So our Guy Roofing 7-day forecast has the mid-60s with those winds out of the southwest on Thursday. That cold front's going to cool us down, back down to the lower 50s on Friday. The coolest day of the week, though, will be Saturday.
WCNC Charlotte.
Weather is a kind of science that you get to see and experience every day. And I think some people don't even realize how much it affects them. That weather has a huge impact on how it threatens your family, your livelihood, or your home. So I think it really is one of those defining things we do that really affects everybody in our community.
See the difference.
That process of giving you a warning ahead of time and keeping you and your family safe is really important to me because I live here too. It's my family, it's my friends, it's my neighbors.
One of downtown Belmont's oldest restaurants provides great food for diners and jobs for adults with special needs.
Holy Angels, a nonprofit dedicated to serving the differently abled, runs this operation. And WCNC Charlotte's Larry Sprinkle shows us how they are making a difference.
It's Cherubs in downtown Belmont. They've been here since 1996, all part of the Holy Angels mission. And they say it's the best lunch, best breakfast, best food in town right here at Cherubs. Cherubs offers a menu of delicious food, including sandwiches, wraps, soups, salads, and a dozen flavors of Tony's ice cream. Elena Benedict kind of oversees the operation. Tell us, what is Cherubs? What does it mean to this community?
Cherubs is a wonderful restaurant here in Belmont, and we've been here for 26 years. The reason we opened Cherubs 26 years ago is to employ our residents from the community. They live in group homes, and so we have 15 residents, and then some of them come from the community living with their parents, and we employ them also.
Those who work there are known as crew members, and all of them are part of the Holy Angels plan to enhance the lives of the differently able. Working at Cherubs provides the perfect opportunity for that. Maria is the chief potato peeler here at Cherubs, and how would you describe your potato peeling skills?
Good. Really good.
Would you say the best?
Yes, the best ones.
I would say the very best.
Yes.
I think A+ for you.
Because I do a great job on the peeling potatoes and get them cut and ready for the potato salad.
What do you enjoy most about being here?
I wash dishes, and work with people as a team.
Do you enjoy working at Cherubs?
Yes, I've been here for a long time.
I bus tables, take orders, and sometimes roll silverware.
Yeah, what is your favorite part of working at Cherubs?
Bussing tables, probably.
A group from the Gaston County Art Guild took a break from their paintbrushes to enjoy a delicious and fun lunch at Cherubs. They love the atmosphere and, most of all, the food. What do you like most about Cherubs?
What do I like most? I like everything about Cherubs. I mean, I like the atmosphere. I love the food. I love the people that come and help us with the food.
That's a nice plate of food you got right there. I like that.
Yeah, it's Greek salad.
If you gave Cherubs a rating, what would you give it? A+. Wow, look at that. If you're ever in downtown Belmont, make sure you stop in at Cherubs Cafe. The food is fantastic. And just remember, the differently able make it differently good. Larry Sprinkle, back to you.
Back here, we're halfway through meteorological winter.
Already?
Yes, but still no fluffy white stuff in Charlotte.
Yeah, you might remember by this time last year in Charlotte, we had 3 different snow events in January alone. WCNC Charlotte's KJ Jacobs examines when our best chances of seeing snow will happen.
No snow is on the horizon for Charlotte, but is there a chance we could still get some this winter? The calendar says yes. From coast to coast, snow is on the ground in the northern tier of the country, but much of the south is currently shut out. Today marks the average first snow for Charlotte. The earliest measurable snowfall was November 11th, 1968, and the latest measurable snowfall was March 13th, 1993. Based on 30-year climatology data, the annual amount of accumulated snowfall in the Queen City is 3.5 inches. However, snow averages are the lowest during La Nina years when conditions are overall warmer and drier. Here's the breakdown of monthly averages. 1/10 of an inch of snowfall in November, nearly a half inch of snow in December. The most typically occurs in January at more than 1.5 inches, and slightly lower in February at 1.1 inches. And monthly snowfall data proves snow cannot be ruled out even in the month of March. For now, our best chance to see snow is a trip to the mountains. Guys?
Begin with breaking news this morning. WCNC Charlotte has just obtained the search warrants from the Cornelius Police Department's investigation into Madalena Kochikari's disappearance. The 11-year-old went missing in November, but her parents didn't report her disappearance until 3 weeks later. WCNC Charlotte's Richard Devane is joining us live from the family's home in Cornelius. Richard, several of the warrants focus on cell phone records.
Absolutely correct, Sarah. Good afternoon to you. Basically, the police said that they actually confiscated 3 cell phones, which is kind of interesting. You would assume that it's the mothers and the stepfathers, but a third phone, especially when Madalena's mother said that she did not have a cell phone. So we're, of course, trying to figure out where that cell phone came from. All of this information coming to us in those transcripts, those documents, the warrants, search warrants, for both the Kochikari's home as well as those cellular devices. Now, as we look at video, we all remember that scene as officers were removing items in that search warrant. When they went into the family's home, the search warrants asked for a number of things. They were searching for credit card records as well as all information about cell phones, including various cellular carriers, not just the ones that the Kochikaris had listed as their cell phone carriers. And also they wanted devices that actually paired with them, like, Alexas or anything like that, smartwatches, anything of that nature. Also text messages they wanted to look at, and GPS, which is important, especially when you consider the fact that that could be something as far as them trying to figure out the whereabouts, where those cell phones were, and more importantly, where the father, stepfather, and the mother were at different times. Of course, we're continuing to pour through those search warrants, and we'll have much more on what we find out coming up in 30 minutes and throughout the day, both here as well as online. Of course, we've been speaking to some residents in the neighborhood, many of them not wanting to speak on camera. One did tell me, said very clearly that she was just be happy when this is all over. Richard Devane, we'll send it back to you.
Richard, so many questions still remain. Thank you.
President Biden taking part in a trilateral summit in Mexico City. Immigration is front and center after President Biden visited the southern border for the first time Sunday as president. This video of him walking alongside the border wall in El Paso. Wake Up Charlotte's Bree Jackson has the latest from Washington.
Ben, the number of migrants crossing the U.S.-Mexico border has risen significantly since President Biden took office 2 years ago. Border Patrol says it stopped migrants crossing illegally a record 2.6 million times last year. President Biden getting a first-hand look at the U.S.-Mexico border Sunday, inspecting the border wall amid criticism from Republicans who blame him for the record number of migrants crossing it.
Because Republicans haven't been serious about this at all. Come on. They haven't been serious about this.
The president also facing one of his biggest critics, Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Abbott handing Mr. Biden a scathing letter demanding that his administration do more to secure the border.
He should have been down here from day one to fix the problem that he created.
The president's trip comes just days after his administration announced a new plan to accept 30,000 migrants a month and expel those who show up to the border unauthorized.
We have surged resources to address a challenge that is not unique to the southern border of the United States. It's a challenge that is really gripping our entire hemisphere.
The president is also calling on Congress to pass comprehensive immigration reform, something lawmakers have failed to do for more than 2 decades.
We need a system for those who want to come to America for economic reasons, for bettering their lives, contributing to our economy, for them to do that in a way that is legal.
They think this is a political challenge, not a policy challenge.
Immigration is among the top issue on the agenda today as President Biden meets with North American leaders for a 2-day summit in Mexico City. As part of the 2-day summit in Mexico City, President Biden will meet with the Mexican president and the Canadian prime minister. In Washington, I'm Bree Jackson for Wake Up Charlotte.
What is Near Me? If you see breaking news, just open the WCNC News app and go to Near Me on the bottom right. Tap Share with us, upload a photo or video, and tell us about what you saw. Hit Submit, and once you see success, your news has reached WCNC Charlotte.
Time now to connect the dots when we make the news make sense. We've talked about the Great Resignation and quiet quitting, but now there's a new trend on the horizon, and some experts say it will dominate the jobs market this year.
How is quiet hiring expected to change hiring in 2023? Let's connect the dots. New data shows tens of millions of Americans voluntarily left their jobs last year. That comes as many employers struggle to fill open positions. Quiet hiring is when a business expands its capabilities without actually hiring new full-time employees. That's according to management consulting firm Gartner. It could mean hiring short-term contractors or temporarily moving employees into new roles. They say the idea is to prioritize the most crucial business functions at a given time, which could mean mixing up the roles of current employees. So how can you take advantage of quiet hiring? HR experts say if your employer suggests a new set of tasks or for employees to pivot roles, use it as a chance to talk long-term goals. They say you could even get a promotion out of it or better your work-life balance. And that's connecting the dots.
Why spend money on a gym membership when you can stream workouts on a platform you're probably already paying for? I'm Carolyn Bruck, and this is your Where's the Money Minute. If getting in shape is your goal for 2023, Netflix might be the solution to your resolution. That's because the streaming service has teamed up with Nike to bring virtual fitness classes to its lineup. According to CNET, there are a handful of Nike Training Club programs already on the platform right now, and there are more expected to be added throughout this year. 30 hours of workouts will be streaming in total. We're told the classes cater to all fitness levels, and the workouts vary. We're talking high-intensity training, strength training, yoga sessions, and core classes. There really is something for everyone. The best part? If you're a Netflix subscriber, no matter the plan, the classes are included. Working out in the comfort of your own home without spending a ton of money, it could be a great way to focus on fitness without breaking the bank. Now, if you don't have a Netflix subscription, plans are starting right now at $6.99 a month. With your Where's the Money Minute, I'm Carolyn Bruck.
When it comes to WCNC's chief meteorologist Brad Panovich, our viewers tell the whole story.
Hey, if you're new to the area, this meteorologist is awesome.
I always stick with Brad Panovich when it comes to severe weather. He's rarely wrong.
You should follow Brad if you don't already. He's usually right on the money with his forecast.
I don't look at anything else besides what Brad says. We are fortunate to have him here.
Brad Panovich. Experience the difference with WCNC Charlotte weather.
Here at Highmark Stadium, the Bills' home turf, the team has changed its signage around the stadium to Pray for DeMar, number 3. And that is what a couple of dozen people showed up to do this afternoon. Jill Kelly, the wife of legendary Bills quarterback Jim Kelly, put out the word on social media to pray for number 3 at 3 o'clock. And on short notice, about 2 dozen people and A handful of pastors all showed up and formed a circle to do just that. They shared passages and parables from the Bible of stories of hope. They prayed for DeMar and the doctors and his family and all of Bill's nation. Jill Kelly told us they feel like they just have to do something.
We're all on the same page. We all feel heartbroken. We all feel this sense of hurt and pain, and we're with DeMar, we're with his family, but it's bigger than football. This is an example that it's so much bigger than football, but yet the game of football has brought us together and allows us to have a community like this where we can pray, where we can give, and where we can do these things, to help in whatever way we can. And I feel like everybody wants to do something.
And they say they're not done praying. There is another event scheduled here tonight at the stadium, and they say they will keep praying as long as DeMar and his family need it. In Buffalo, Casey Nolan.
When did you know what you wanted to be?
Hey, Mom, the weather's on!
WCNC Charlotte's chief meteorologist, Brad Panovich, always knew what he was meant to do.
Right, don't forget your umbrella.
In fact, he joined the American Meteorological Society when he was 13. Now Brad is all grown up. You can see him right here on WCNC Charlotte, making sure you're informed and safe.
Hey, where did all my hair go?
Experience the difference.
And taking a look at the weather forecast in our area right now, live pictures from Freedom Boat Club in Lake Norman. Let's send it over to meteorologist Chris Mulcahy, who joins us now with more on your forecast. Hey there, Chris.
Beautiful blue skies. Sarah, get ready for a terrific Tuesday. Hopefully you have some good plans. We are rocking the 50s today, pretty close to 60 degrees, and our tower cam about 1,500 feet up, looking clear. We only have a couple of clouds here and there. High of 58 degrees. That's 1 degree warmer than what we had yesterday. And no chance for rain. Don't worry about it. Winds out of the southwest at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Not really looking at as many wind gusts as what we saw yesterday as well. So this is really a picture-perfect forecast. Mid to the upper 50s, right around 50 degrees up in the mountains. So your overnight forecast. We are looking at temperatures to take a tumble back down to the lower to the mid-30s. Pretty close to that freezing point, but not quite around that 30-31 that we were rocking most of earlier this morning. And we hit 31 this morning, mid-30s later on tonight, heading into tomorrow morning. And it's not until Sunday that we really hit our bottom for the week, 26 degrees on Sunday. So like in the mid-30s, that's a good range to be. And even up in the mountains, we're going to be pretty close to that freezing point overall. Tomorrow's hour-by-hour forecast, we're looking at around 60 degrees. So the lower 60s is mainly going to be our threshold, and that's fantastic. But I think that we are going to increase the cloud cover, turning mostly cloudy, even overcast by the end of the day. So a look at our futurecast. Not as many clouds today, but then watch. Once we get to the afternoon, noon I think is fine. Mid to late afternoon, we're going to have that partly sunny, mostly cloudy sky. Still some bright spots here and there. And then, as you notice, once you get to about your Thursday early morning hours, we're going to have a few spotty rain showers. They're going to start to brush in. So Thursday is going to be the main chance for rain. It's not necessarily a Thursday morning. It's Thursday afternoon during the evening. And then we have isolated activity heading into your Friday. And it's the warm front that first gives us that little spurt of a few isolated showers. It's the cold front that's going to bring the main batch of rain. So we have a mean line of storms. It's going to be situated just off towards our west. That is going to push through our area, I would say, by your Thursday late afternoon heading into your evening. But the further west you go, we are looking at potential for severe storms. But watch our thunderstorm fuel. It pretty much dissipates and gets out of here by about the evening. So I think that we don't really have the right timing for the strongest storms. And the Storm Prediction Center also adjusting that we only have that low chance further off towards the west. As far as how much rain we're going to see, this is measuring up to about half to about an inch of rain, and this is going to be a pretty quick period as well. So our Guy Roofing 7-day forecast has the mid-60s with those winds out of the southwest on Thursday. That cold front's going to cool us down, back down to the lower 50s on Friday. The coolest day of the week, though, will be Saturday.
A sad update now at 4 o'clock. According to CMPD, the cyclist that was hit by a car last week has died. Today, police identifying the biker as 30-year-old Christy Crowder. She was hit while riding her bike near the plaza Thursday night. Police say the driver cooperated on the scene and was not under the influence. It's unclear if that driver will face any charges.
A lawsuit filed today over Union County Schools' new calendar. A group of parents are asking a judge to stop the district from starting the school year 3 weeks earlier next year. That board decision came last month during an emergency meeting. It does break the state calendar law, which requires schools to start the closest Monday to August 26th. Union County board members voted to start August 9th.
WCNC Charlotte's Shamaria Morrison bringing us the details on the case. Shay?
The lawyer in this case says school boards should not be in the business of saying what laws they will and will not follow. That's why they're asking a judge to put a stop to this. While several districts in North Carolina have voted to start early, Union County Schools is the first district we know of to be sued for it.
And the complaint asked for a judge to rule that the school calendar that was recently adopted violates school calendar law, and asked for them to declare that it's invalid and not enforceable.
One of the parents named in the suit owns a business, and she says she'll be negatively impacted if schools start earlier.
She does many summer camps, and the shortening of the summer and the lack of notice of the change in the calendar is causing her business a severe financial hardship, because basically normally she would have classes the first 3 weeks of August.
The school calendar law was heavily lobbied by the travel and tourism industry because they say one of the busiest times for visitors to come to North Carolina is August. And if the legislature changes the law to allow an earlier start date, tourism will be impacted negatively. We asked North Carolina Senate President Pro Tem Phil Berger today his response to the lawsuit and schools openly defying the law.
I understood that some litigation was being contemplated. I think it's a fairly clear case that those efforts on the part of some local school systems should be enjoined by the courts. We'll see what judges do.
North Carolina House Speaker Tim Moore has a different stance.
I favor more flexibility for the local districts and for the parents to have input in that. So not sure what will happen with the lawsuit, but I think there ought to be greater flexibility.
The group's lawyer says the legislature, not school districts, have the right to decide laws.
Really, this lawsuit is ultimately about the state law is clear, and the board is just not following the law.
We reached out to the Union County School District and all board members who were named in this suit. We heard from a district spokesperson who said at this time they have no additional comment. We have not heard back from the individual board members, but it's important to note that they need to receive this lawsuit first, and then they will have a chance to respond to it in court proceedings. Shamaria Morrison, WCNC Charlotte.
The new and improved WCNC Plus, now on Roku and Fire TV. Watch local live newscasts, get extended breaking news coverage, and see local programs and specials. The new and improved WCNC Plus, now on Roku and Fire TV.
New at 4:30, the South Carolina Attorney General says law enforcement is stepping up efforts to stop human trafficking. His office now reporting a more than 400% increase in the crime in 2022. The Attorney General also says there's been a 44% increase in the number of victims that identify as Latinx. Officials say they'll work tirelessly to bring criminals to justice.
The impact of human trafficking has on our state is tremendous. Our resolve to help victims and bring criminals to justice is unwavering. Raising awareness of human trafficking is crucial, and we need everyone working together to help fight human trafficking.
Leaders say that they're adding 4 new branches to the state's human trafficking task force to help.
Things happening today. CMS leaders set to lay out the hiring timeline for the district's next superintendent. It comes as the district searches for its first permanent leader since former superintendent Ernest Winson was fired back in April. Wake Up Charlotte's Tradisha Woodard joins us now live. And Tradisha, school leaders hope to have this search wrapped up before the end of this current school year.
That's right, Ben. They're anticipating for the process to take about 4 months, and right now they're trying to determine whether or not they want to continue engaging with national and local search committees to help them find some proposals. CMS UMass continues to search for a new superintendent. District leaders are working to lay out a 4-month timeline. The first step to get a new superintendent is to ask local and national search committees for proposals, also known as RFP.
RFP stands for Request for Proposal, and it's just a way of very publicly stating, hey, to all the search firms locally and across the nation, we're about to do a search. If you would like to conduct the search, please apply.
The district says right now they're considering whether or not to continue engaging in the process. They say the higher rate of superintendents leaving previous positions means more competition in recruiting. They're hoping to officially launch their search next month. And officials are hoping to have a new super hired as well as a contract approved no later than April. Reporting live outside of CMS, Tradisha Woodard, Wake Up Charlotte.
When I think about the community, I think about the time that I've been here. I've been in this community almost my entire adult life. So you get to know the people. When you know what they care about, then that's what you care about. This community looks at all of us who do weather here at WCNC Charlotte as part of their family. And when you're part of their family, you want to make sure you do it just for them.
All right, here with Locked On Panthers host Julian Council. Julian, so much to get to as the Panthers wrap up the season. Their 5th straight, unfortunately, without a playoff appearance. But let's start with Steve Wilks, 6-6 as interim coach. Owner David Tepper said he'd have to do an incredible job. So did he?
Yeah, it's very clear he did an incredible job. We've known that for weeks now, if not over a month, to get this team that was 1-4 when he took over after week 5 when they fired Matt Rule to being what he said at the doorsteps of a playoff berth. 6-6. I thought he did an incredible job by establishing an identity offensively and defensively, bringing back the mantra of keep pounding. Matt Rule always talked about the brand, the process. That's always going to be keep pounding in this city, and Steve Wilks understands that. So absolutely he did an incredible job, and I think it's clear that he should be the top candidate heading into this head coaching cycle over the next couple weeks and potentially month.
You think it's clear, but what does David Tepper think? And that's what it comes down to,
that's
right?
What we all want to know.
Is it philosophical? I mean, if Wilks had helped this team set records for passing in a game and not running, are we even having a debate about this right now? Isn't he the guy? I mean, is it something where maybe David Tepper wants something different than has succeeded here in the past?
Sure. It's interesting to me because I've had people complain to me about, I don't want to watch this offense with Wilks and running the football. I'm sorry, 570 yards of total offense, franchise record against Detroit, that's not good enough for you? He was able to do that with Ben McAdoo calling the plays, Sam Darnold as the quarterback, and Christian McCaffrey was no longer here. Robbie Anderson was no longer here, and they had that kind of success. That just shows a coach who understood the strengths of his team and the weaknesses and balanced those to winning football games, 6 of the last 12 games that they played, and having success that way. So I don't really know what David Tepper is thinking. There's comments out there, there's reports out there that he wants an offensive guy, that he wants a seasoned veteran head coach. Well, you have a veteran right now in Steve Wilks. You have a guy who knows what it takes to win in this league and has seen success here in Carolina. So if David Tepper's looking for a winner, I think he already has one right here.
All right, under a minute to go, Julian. At 7-10 finish means the Panthers pick 9th. We know they want a quarterback in some form or fashion. Do you think they could trade up to get somebody?
They can, and I know the question is going to be, should they give up the farm to trade up to number 1 with the Chicago Bears, who already have their quarterback in Justin Fields, to be able to take, presumably, Bryce Young out of Alabama? I don't know if I'm there yet, but I thought even if the Texans would have gotten the number 1 pick, the Panthers are going to have to trade up. Whether they won on Sunday against New Orleans or lost, they were going to have to use the assets that they traded away, traded Christian McCaffrey to San Francisco for, to likely move up into the top 4, top 3. I thought Seattle might be the team. Now that Seattle's behind Indianapolis, can kind of make it difficult. So we're looking at Arizona as a likely trade partner if you don't want to give up a lot for the Bears. So yeah, I think if they want to get their quarterback, which should be a rookie, in the first round, either Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud out of Ohio State, they're going to need to trade up, and that's the best path forward for this team, to find the guy to finally stabilize the position and lead whoever the next head coach is into a proper direction of actually bringing the sustained success that David Tepper promised us when he fired Ron Rivera 3 years ago.
Julian, let's continue to talk about the draft. At number 9, I mean, that's a bit of a precarious position when you want to draft a homegrown quarterback, and the consensus is there's only 2, C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young, or if you believe Tom Luginbill that Will Levis is in that conversation.
Sure.
Those guys are going to go in the top end. I mean, what do you think the philosophy is for Scott Fitterer and the staff going in at number 9?
I think they're going to say best player available, but we're really not going to know until free agency plays out. Now, if the draft was before free agency, certainly it would be looking at getting a quarterback. Maybe you would say edge rusher, maybe a corner, because they certainly could use some help in both those areas, at least opposite of Brian Burns with a pass rusher, something they failed to get last year in the offseason. And in corners, seeing the injuries to J.C. Horn and Dante Jackson and the kind of impact that had in the season late. C.J. Henderson, Keith Taylor, probably not those guys you want to depend on next season if you get in that position. But I'm thinking that their thought is, all right, Scott Fitterer told us when he first got here, in on every deal. He's going to have to be in on a certain deal there in the top 10 to move up. Now, don't get me wrong. The Carolina Panthers can still get a quarterback if they stay there at 9. I just don't think it's going to be Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud. Those clearly to me are the top 2 guys who are probably going to be gone to either Houston or Indianapolis before Carolina's even on the clock. You could get Will Levis, who a lot of people like Mel Kiper Jr. of ESPN, they like, and even Anthony Richardson. The guy's a stud, but also it's going to be a pretty big learning curve for him to be ready to play in the NFL on day one, not even day one of his second year in the NFL. So they can get a quarterback. I don't know if they're going to get the quarterback if they sit there at 9.
Well, you know, the last 3 years, the philosophy has been chase the top flight free agents, lose out, and then end up with Bridgewater, Baker, and Darnold. I mean,
Tom Brady this year?
Yeah. Do they adjust that philosophy? Let's take Tom Brady probably out of the picture.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you know, you're talking about a potential of Lamar Jackson. I mean, that's kind of a pipe dream for some people. Is there some alternative kind of Derek Carr, Trey Lance option that you think they might chase down? Somebody else?
I guess there's Trey Lance you could potentially trade for, depending on how things go here with San Francisco. If Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, wins the Super Bowl for them, I guess he's their guy. I have no idea what Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch and the 49ers brass are thinking, depending on what happens over the next month in the NFL playoffs. There's also Jordan Love in Green Bay. Yep. Aaron Rodgers, there was after Sunday Night Football, he didn't want to give his jersey away to Jameson Williams. He was saying, I want to keep this one. Is he gone? Is he staying? I don't know, but that's going to be a conversation if Aaron Rodgers comes back, whether you trade for Jordan Love. I just don't want to see the same thing the Carolina Panthers have done that has failed them the last couple of off seasons of, hey, let's sign this veteran or this guy who failed elsewhere as a top pick, and let's hope it works out. Teddy Bridgewater totally was fine with that, as long as you had a plan to eventually bring a rookie quarterback. But David Tepper, the owner here, said, I don't have the patience for that plan. That failed to get. They failed to get Matthew Stafford, of course, Deshaun Watson the first time, led to Sam Darnold, of course, led to Baker Mayfield. I just don't think that's going to help this team win moving forward and have that sustained success. So the best path forward is just to have this philosophy of drafting a guy and developing him. And that's what Scott Fitterer said on Monday when speaking to the media, that we just need to go the conventional route, get a guy, develop him. Matt Corral, maybe he's that guy. But I don't think this organization, when they traded up last year in the third round to get Matt Corral, really thought he was going to be the long-term guy.
Well, I mean, if they stay at 9 and it's best player available and it's not a quarterback or a quarterback who's ready, do you pursue somebody like Carr? Because the rest of your roster seems close to being a playoff team.
It depends on who the coaching staff is. And Fitterer said that as well on Monday, that got to get the head coach first, and then the head coach is going to be key in the decision-making of who to bring at quarterback. And we saw that with the last guy, and Matt Rule, and certainly didn't work out in the two guys that he wanted, the last one being Baker Mayfield, who had a shortened preseason and opportunity to get ready for the season, which I think impacted his play. I don't know. I don't really love the idea of Derek Carr. I think he's a fine quarterback. I just don't think he's the guy. And David Tepper said that you want to get someone who can help hoist the Lombardi Trophy down, trade, and try on. Is Derek Carr going to do that? Because Mark Davis out in Las Vegas doesn't think that. And I think a lot of NFL owners and the rest of the league also feel the same way. So what's the point in getting a quarterback that, yeah, he can get you to the playoffs, but is he the guy? I think Carolina looking for the guy right now. Sure, Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, any of your rookies, not quite sure if they're going to develop into that. But we kind of know who Derek Carr is at this point in time, to where I don't think there's that much upside for Carolina to bring in a Derek Carr.
Let's wrap up with one more question about Steve Wilks. You think he's the guy. Many others do as well. Is there anybody else out there that you could be sold on? If it's not Steve Wilks, this is somebody that could take this team, build off the momentum that they just had over the last 12 games, and carry it into next year and get this team to ultimately where it needs to go.
I don't think I love the idea of Frank Reich. I think it could work. I don't necessarily think I love it. I can be talked into it. Jim Harbaugh, he's been great. I know Panther fans are going to be like, oh, he's a college coach. Like, guys, did you forget 44-19-1 with San Francisco. His first 3 years went to the NFC title game. One of them went to the Super Bowl. Every time they lost in the playoffs, it was to the eventual Super Bowl champion. I could be on board with Jim Harbaugh. I just wonder if he can come in here and be collaborative, because it doesn't really feel like that's going to be the case with Harbaugh and how he operates, and he really wears out his welcome after a couple years, which led him back to Michigan after the successful tenure 4 years there in San Francisco. Leslie Frazier is a defensive guy. He's been a head coach before. That could make sense. I wouldn't be opposed to that. I don't love the idea of like a Shane Steichen, who, yes, he's been around quarterbacks like Jalen Hurts now and Justin Herbert, but hasn't been in a coordinator role long enough. Ben Johnson, who from Asheville, North Carolina Tar Heel quarterback, at least a walk-on. He is the OC of the Lions offense. That was great this year, but it's his first year as an OC. I want someone who's going to be a leader. So if we're going to get a leader and someone that has experience as a coordinator that's not a former head coach, D'Amico Ryans out in San Francisco. And we've seen Mike McDaniel have success his first year with the Miami Dolphins come from there. Robert Saleh hasn't necessarily worked all that much with the Jets, but it's also the Jets. And I think they might have something there if they ever get a quarterback. So I could be sold with D'Amico Ryans, someone who's played this league at a high level, coming with this defense. I think he would probably bring the Shanahan system. I could get on board with D'Amico Ryans if it's not going to be Steve Wilkes. I could probably get on board with Jim Harbaugh and maybe even Frank Reich. Just wouldn't be my top options. If it's not Wilkes, I'll take D'Amico.
All right, Julian, you have joined us for 18 weeks. It's been a roller coaster. We thank you for your time. Next time we see you, we'll be talking about whoever that head coach is going to be. What do you say this time next year we're sitting here previewing an actual playoff game?
That would be nice, but that's also probably too much to ask.
Oh, no.
Well, a new year usually means new resolutions, a new outlook, also a lot of new deals. WCNC Charlotte's Carolyn Brook is here with the discounts you can score this month, so you're not left asking, where's the money?
December, during the holidays, that's the time when we shop till we drop. But did you know that January also has some really good deals? It's a great time for bargain hunters. So let's talk about the deals you can find in January. The first one, holiday decor. This makes sense, right? The potential savings, 75%. Stores are trying to move out all of the leftovers there, so you can really cash in. The second thing, workout equipment and apparel. Of course, this has to do with the fact that it's a new year, new you. They're banking on that. So you can actually get 60% off, and it's not just that equipment, it's apparel as well. We're talking small things, anything from like yoga blocks to the bigger machines like stationary bikes and elliptical machines. So there are deals to be had there. Toys and games. Anything that really didn't sell, because retailers put a lot of toys and games in the aisles for Christmas. If it didn't sell, you're going to find up to 50% off on a lot of that stuff. Open box tech. So this is because people got these gifts, right? And the time right now is really the time for returns. So you can find up to 20% off on those open box tech deals. Small kitchen appliances. A lot of people, it's a new year, they're staying in and they're cooking at home. Well, you can find 20% off those small kitchen appliances. The towels and the linens. Things to freshen up your home, 30% off their potential savings. Winter clothing. You might be thinking, well, it's winter right now, so that doesn't totally make sense.